Hello, everybody. Rachel here from Rachthestamper.com. And since I missed a day yesterday, I thought I would show a little bit of YouTube love by hopping on here and doing a quick live card. And this is a quick Christmas card. I'm going to show you the cards I did the other day. This is one I did for the blog hop. So if you haven't gone on, you go to rachthestamper.com and there's a blog hop. All you have to do is leave your name, a comment, and hashtag Stampin' Contest to be entered to win. It's a New Year's theme. So that's our card for this month. We do one every single month. So make sure that you subscribe. That way you'll be alerted. And I just used the Season of Whimsy stamp set, which of course I don't have handy, and used the little the sparkler, and I embossed it a couple different times. I even did a little bit of craft white ink on there. So that's that. And then this is the card I made, or the project I made for Sunday, and I just used one of the pizza boxes, and then I decorated the front, tied it up with a little bit of ribbon, and then I filled this with some 3x3 note cards that I made, and then the little mini envelopes. So this is also from Seasons of Whimsy. So this, you just take a 3x6 piece of cardstock, scored at 3, and I just did these kind of simple. So here's kind of a tone on tone. This is Lost Lagoon and Fresh Fig. And then this is from Watercolor Christmas, and this is Rich Razzleberry and Perfect Plum. And then same thing, this is also from Watercolor Christmas. This is Dapper Denim and Marina Mist. And then I did one more to make it easy as well. I just used a piece of DSP, and this is from Christmas Around the World. And then this sentiment is from, oh my goodness, I just forgot what it's called. Festive Phrases, and then I just colored this in with the Stampin' Blends. So these are really simple. You could pop these in, and if you didn't want to do Christmas ones, you could do thank you ones, because people will need thank yous for the gift. And if you decide to omit the cards altogether, this actually does have a coating on it, so you can put food in here and it won't seep through to the outside and make your box look greasy like when your normal pizza box comes. So these fit inside of here perfectly. You can decorate this. I just did a little piece of Designer Series paper, and then this little guy is also from the Festive Phrases stamp set. I just colored him in with some Stampin' Blends and fussy cut him. And then just wrapped a little bit of ribbon, so, kind of loose enough that you wouldn't have to untie it. That way it'll be pretty. So this was really simple. You could also go as far as to add a little bit of DSP to the strips on the sides if you wanted to. So that's a really quick card to make. So I thought today we would do one really fast card, and I just want to show you, in case you don't have this, or if you want to fancy it up a little bit more, there's two alternatives. So you could use the large Christmas tree from Lovely as a Tree. That would work. You could use the tree. Do I not have it in here? Here it is. You could use the tree from the Ready for Christmas stamp set. You could use this tree if you wanted to. Or if you have the die, you could just cut out all the little branches. Or another one that you could use is from Beachy Little Christmas. You could use this tree here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you, this is just a quick idea that's in the holiday catalog. So they actually use the Season Like Christmas stamp set. So if you have that one, you could use that as well. We're going to just make this little card here really quickly. Hopefully it should go semi-smoothly. I'm going to do it with the Beachy Little Christmas, and then I'll do the second version with the Lovely as a Tree Christmas tree. And if you wanted to make this a little bit fancier, the other thing you could do is you could stamp your tree onto a panel. Oh, excuse me. Felt like I was going to have a sneeze. A panel of crumb cake. And then you could layer it on top if you wanted to make it a little extra fancy, or you can just do it directly. So how about if we do one of each and we'll see which one we like better. So I have a piece of cardstock 4 1/4 by 11, scored at 5 1/2. So I'm going to just give that a score with my bone folder. And then we will stamp directly onto the paper here. So the one I will do first is the Lovely as a Tree. Let me just grab my block. So I'm just going to put this on a clear block. And what we're going to do is we are going to need our heat tool for this, because we're going to add some of the embossing paste. And to make it puffy, you need to heat it. So that's how it works. So we're going to just use markers for this. And in order for this to show up onto this, I think I'm going to use Tranquil Tide and Early Espresso. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to go in with my brush tip of the Early Espresso, and I'm going to try, and it doesn't have to be perfect, but I'm going to try to kind of follow where I think the trunk of the tree is. And then we'll just do the bottom. So just fill that in with our mark. And it doesn't have to be perfect, because if you have ever had a tree, you know they're not perfect by any means. Mine is actually kind of, I don't know if it's trying to get away from the fireplace or what, but it looks like it's growing away from the fireplace. So I think it secretly just thinks it's too warm in our house. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my I'm sorry, this isn't Lost Lagoon. What the heck am I thinking? Tranquil Tide. I don't know why I keep saying Lost Lagoon. That was so 2 seasons ago, Rach. All right, so I'm going to just paint this from the trunk to the outside. That way it kind of leaves the trunk dark. And you could do this also if you don't have the Stampin' Right markers. You could also do this just with a blender pen. Or you could probably even take your stamp pad and just kind of drag it out to the side. But I haven't tried this before, so we'll see how it looks. Okay, oops, almost done. And for those of you that don't know, so my name is Rachel, and I have a website, rachthestamper.com. If you haven't already, I would love if you'd subscribe. I do try to put daily stuff on there to share some cards with you. I also have a Facebook page, YouTube, Instagram. You can find me all of those as Rach the Stamper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to huff on this to reactivate the ink. So you're just basically exhaling on it like you would when you're outside. So you can see your breath in the winter. All right, I'm going to just push this down. And you do want to make sure, some of the stamps can sometimes be a little odd depending on the size of them. So you want to make sure that when you're pushing a stamp, that you push onto the center part where the stamp is, not the sides, because then you'll get that little halo image. That looks pretty good. It is a little crooked, but that's kind of my centering on the tree. But we won't worry about that. But it actually turned out really well. If you can see that, you can actually see the trunk is very defined in there, and then you have all the branches. So this turned out way better than I thought it did. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let this sit just for a moment, and we're going to do the other stamp. And this one we'll actually do, let me make sure this panel is cut down. This one we'll do onto a separate panel, and then we'll layer it on just so you can see what it looks like. So this is the tree from Beachy Little Christmas. And we'll do this one similarly, but we're going to pick a lighter color for this. So this one we'll use Garden Green, and then we'll use chocolate chip. Yeah, chocolate chip. And I might actually put in a couple other little colors too. We'll see. We'll see how it goes. So basically I'm just doing the same thing, and I'm going to make the bucket. I'm going to keep the bucket brown, just so it's kind of a little bit more of the tone on tone. But if you wanted to, you could actually take your markers and you could color all the different things in here. And it would be a little more time consuming, but it would still be pretty fun. But this is a great way if you have like some last minute Christmas cards that you need to get finished, since we're kind of coming down to crunch time. And I am going to color the seashell at the top a different color. But this would be a great way to get a whole bunch done, because all you have to do is just fill in your trunk and then do your markers. If you did just tone on tone, it would be very easy. And then you could always go back if you wanted to and highlight. You could even highlight just like a couple parts. It would be really pretty. All right, and I'm going to do this in crushed curry, because this is a little bit deeper of a color. I'm not sure how much it's going to show up on the crumb cake, but we'll give it a shot. So that's just the little sand dollar is the star. Okay, so same thing again. So we have this colored in how we want. So we're just going to huff on it and stamp. Let's see if I can get this one straight this time. Now, the cool thing would be, and again, I'm going to tell you, I don't know if we're going to actually have time to do this one, but that turned out cute. It is a little bit darker, so we probably could have gone with a soft suede on the inside and maybe a slightly dark, but it still does look very cute. It definitely has distinguishable colors inside of it, which is fun. I think I like this one better though, just because it's a little fuller. If I was going to do this again, I think I would take the time to color in the little stuff on the outside so you could fill in the pieces. But another thing I was going to say, if you were going to do, since this is obviously a beach Christmas tree, is you could add a little tiny bit. This would be really cute. Instead of doing yellow, because then it's going to kind of look like yellow sand snow, which nobody wants yellow snow. You could actually add a teeny bit of pink to this, so it was like a pink sand beach, like a Bermuda beach, which I've never been there, but I would love to. So let me see if this seems pretty dry. It dries pretty quick on this paper. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of my embossing paste. I believe that's what this is called, right? Yeah, it's been a while since I used it. If yours gets a little teeny bit dry, which it can, and it is not a problem, all you're going to do is just add a teeny bit of water to it. And I haven't opened this in a while, so mine is probably a tiny bit drier than it needs to be. but maybe for the sake of us doing this video, it'll actually be better. But if yours does dry out, all you have to do is just add, I mean, like just a drop or two of water. Get yourself, if you have the knives to use, or just a regular, like a disposable spoon, and just mix it up. So what we're going to do, we're just going to take a little bit of this on our spatula, and we're going to just kind of puff it onto here. It doesn't really need to be specific in any way. You kind of smear it however you like, because you don't really want to cover up too much of the tree. So whatever you think you want to use. And this ink is just still a tiny bit wet because it is actually tinting. I don't know if you can see that or not. It's tinting that just slightly. So just be careful digging back into your pot so you don't make the rest of your stuff green. I'm going to put a little bit down at the bottom. But basically what we want to do with this is we want to dry it. I'm going to take just a teeny bit more from the edge. We're going to make it dry puffy, like snow. Let's see. Okay. So I'm going to just readjust just a little bit of this. And I'm going to kind of clean this up just slightly. There we go. Okay. And you can always use your other tools if you wanted to scrape. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to just put this in the lid for now just to get the rest of it off. And I'm going to cover this up just for a second so I can show you what I want to do before we do the second one. Okay. So now what you're going to do is you're going to take your heat tool and you want to turn it on and let it heat up. Same thing when you're doing regular embossing. You always want to let it heat before you actually use it. That way it's nice and hot so you don't have to hold it on the paper as long. And what we're going to do is we're going to hold this over our embossing paste, and it's going to do two things. It's going to help to dry it, but it's also going to make it puffy. You don't want to hold it in one spot too long because you don't want it to singe. So you're just going to keep doing the same thing like you would with your embossing paste. I'm sorry, your embossing powder. And you're going to just move it around. And you're going to see that it will puff up as it gets dry. Okay, so again, you really want to make sure that you're very careful because there are a couple spots on here, because I'm not going to fib, I'm not that kind of a stamper, and they're a little brown because it was a little too close. So you want to make sure that you do hold it back far enough because they're like almost like toasted marshmallows. So make sure that you're really careful to hold it farther away. But it definitely has puffed up some. What you would probably be better off doing too is, if you're going to do it, is heat it from the bottom and from the top. But basically what it'll do is it makes it puffy and it makes it dry. So right now, this is completely dry. It's definitely puffier than it was, but it is completely 100% dry. So if I picked this off, it probably would rip off the paper. So then the other thing you could do if you wanted to is you could add a little bit of ribbon. So we have, this is really pretty, just the cherry cobbler. And this is, I believe, the stitched ribbon. Yeah, the double stitched ribbon. So you could take this and you could tie it. Oh, except this one is, sometimes this is a little difficult because of the way the cross stitching is. I know there's a way to tie this bow. So you have the stitching, but I'm just not good at doing bows on live. Too much pressure to do live bows. Okay. That's better. And then we just have to flip this around. So you could put, that one side's still going to be trimmy. So you could put a little ribbon on the top if you wanted to. You could just wrap a little ribbon around the bottom and tie if you wanted to. Another way you could do this is if you tied a little knot through and then you put it around the bottom. So that's a really cute idea. Just so you have like a little bit of ribbon. If you would, I would offset it. But then you can just adhere it to the back. All right, so then moving on, let me just show you this just quickly. Let me see if I can find my, oh, here it is. silicone mat. So if you wanted to, so here's your option number 2, if you wanted to. So you could get a teeny bit, and you don't really need a lot of paste because we're going to just do this as sand. We're not going to put sand on the tree. So we'll put a teeny bit of this at the bottom. Be sure it's a little bit wet. And then what you could do, and when I say this, I mean like tiny. And actually, I'm going to use powder pink because I think that's the lightest color we have. So I'm going to take a tiny, tiny, tiny. I don't even think I'm going to do a full drop. Just like a half of a flick of powder pink. And you just add this to your knife or to your pile of embossing paste. And I'm going to just stir it around. And you could, honestly, if I had a lot more time, I would definitely add some more embossing paste to this. And then what you're going to do, so you're going to pick it up, and we're just going to put this at the bottom as if it was sand. And now this also depends. So if you want it just to be a little bit of sand, kind of like that is, what you do is you take your knife and you push it and then you lift it up. So it kind of gives that sand pile look. And this, actually, the tools that come with this, it does come with 3 different tools. So there's like a little tiny, what would that be, like a trowel, and then there's a bigger spatula. I tend to use this one. This is more like a cake knife to me. I think I'm just a little bit better versed with it. And then you could use all those tools. So you could put whatever kind of sand pile that you want. If you want to put more on there, I'm going to kind of put it so it goes all the way across. So it looks like a pile of sand, and then I'll just put a little bit more close to the bucket, like somebody built it up around, because that's what my son would do. And we'll just spread this out. And then I'm going to take a little bit of this off. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to just smush and pull. And then I'm going to put a little bit more down here, just to kind of add in, so it's not just like a big lump of sand. But it does really, let me see if I can scrape just a teeny bit of this off of the bucket so you can see the bucket just a little bit. It really does look like sand, the consistency of sand. So that's a whole nother thing, because, you know, it is going to be spring again after Christmas is over. So you could make this like sand for lots of different cards. But basically, you can dye this embossing paste any color that you like. You do need to let this dry, or else you could, again, hit it with the heat tool. But you can dye the embossing paste any color that you like. Just make sure that you don't use a whole lot at a time, because, say, for example, you dye this whole thing pink. It's going to take a little bit of color to change it to anything else. So usually what I would do is get your silicone mat, put a little bit, and then you can always add to it if it's too dark, or you can always add more color to it if you liked it that way. So then all you would do with this is we will just fold this. Grab my bone folder. And then this has some really cute stamps or sentiments in the Beachy Little Christmas. Have yourself a Beachy Little Christmas. Oops, I ran out of snail. Which would work really, really wonderfully for a beach card, because then you actually put a little bit of sand on it. So we can adhere that. And this is going to take a little bit to dry, but it really does. And it's 3D, so once it dries, it'll be firm. I'm going to push this down just so it's not quite as hard to get into the envelope. So you could take your sentiment, have yourself a Beachy Little Christmas, or who needs snowflakes when you have seashells, and then you could put the Beachy Little Christmas on the inside. There are definitely a couple little sands. You could stamp these and trim them out and put them in the sand. So lots of really cute ideas. So again, that's Beachy Little Christmas. This is going to be gone January 2nd. So make sure if you want this, you order it. And it may be going out of line, actually, because there's a lot of things that are flying off the shelves. And the stamp sets are only guaranteed through, I believe, the 20th. And then they're not going to be producing any more of them. And then this one, as we know, is our long-running Lovely as a Tree. Just make sure that you don't singe your embossing paste. But this is one of the oldest stamp sets that Stampin' Up! has had going on. And again, we just took our different markers, colored the inside and colored the outside, and then added the snow. We can add a little bit of a ribbon to that, or again, you could stamp it onto a different panel and then adhere it if you prefer to do that as well, and just dress this up with some ribbon. So guys, they did just add some new stuff to the clearance rack in the online store, but it is going fast. I know some of the stuff that they put in there is already completely sold out, so make sure you check that out. And again, if there is anything that you want that is in the holiday catalog, this is only good through January 2nd. There are a few things carrying over, but not many. So make sure that you get a hold of anything that you want in here before it's gone, or else you're going to be paying the price on eBay. And I will post more ideas to my blog through to Christmas Eve, which is Sunday. And I will be back tomorrow live on Facebook at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time with another live card. I'm not sure what we're going to do, but we're going to do something Christmassy. So make sure you join me there. So thanks as always for watching. I appreciate it. I hope you guys have a great day.